We're all taught to be peacemakers, right? It's one of the first and most important lessons we learn. Don't rock the boat. Keep everyone happy, especially your family. Find the compromise. Smooth things over. Be the calm in the storm. But what if that peace is the very thing keeping you stuck, anxious, and small? What if the peace you're so desperately trying to maintain is actually a cage? In one of his most shocking and honestly deeply uncomfortable statements, Jesus of Nazareth said he didn't come to bring peace to the earth, but fire and division. What if the path to your true purpose, to the life you were actually meant to live, requires you to have the courage to start a fire? This is a deep-seated struggle for so many of us, especially in our generation. We live in this strange paradox. On one hand, we're told to be authentic, to live our truth. Our social media feeds are filled with it. Authenticity. Be you. But on the other hand, we feel this immense, crushing pressure to conform. There's the pressure to curate the perfect life online, the one that gets the most likes. This is what the great psychologist Carl Jung called the persona. It's the mask we create for the world, the version of ourselves that is agreeable, successful, and easy to digest. Then there's the pressure from our families. They have dreams for us, expectations born out of love, but expectations nonetheless. They have a script they want us to follow. Go to this school, get that job, marry that kind of person, live in this city. Every family has an unspoken emotional contract, a delicate balance that keeps the system at peace, and your role in that system is clearly defined. You might be the responsible one, the successful one, the funny one, or the one who never makes a fuss. Maintaining that role, upholding that fragile peace, becomes a full-time job. And it creates a specific kind of anxiety, doesn't it? It's that knot in your stomach when you're at a family dinner, biting your tongue because your honest opinion would upset the equilibrium. It's that feeling of dread when you think about telling your parents you want to quit your stable job to become an artist, or a traveler, or anything that deviates from their plan. It's the exhaustion of constantly managing everyone else's feelings, of shrinking yourself to fit into the box they built for you. This peace is a ceasefire, not a victory. It's the quiet of a battlefield after everyone has surrendered their true desires for the sake of a tense, unstable harmony. And the cost of this ceasefire is your own soul, your own potential. What Jung would call your journey toward the self, the whole, integrated, and truly authentic version of you. This is the central struggle, the desperate need to belong versus the even more desperate need to become yourself. And it's right into the heart of that struggle that Jesus throws a match. In the Gospel of Luke, he says to his disciples, "I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. There is a baptism with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished. Do you think that I have come to establish peace on the earth? No, I tell you, but rather division." He goes on to say that households will be divided, father against son, mother against daughter, that the most intimate bonds will be broken. For centuries, this passage has been used to justify religious conflict and familial strife. It feels harsh, unloving, and completely at odds with the image of a gentle Savior. But what if we've been reading it all wrong? What if this isn't a command to go out and fight with your family? What if this is a profound psychological diagnosis of what happens when you finally decide to become real? What if this is a permission slip for your own transformation? Let's look at this through a Jungian lens. Let's see it not as a literal command, but as a map for the soul. First, there's the fire. Jesus says, "I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing." This isn't the fire of war. This is the fire of the authentic spirit. It's the fire of passion, of creativity, of righteous anger, of a deeply felt purpose. It's the energy that has been repressed by the persona, by the need to be nice and agreeable. It's the blazing, chaotic, and uncontrollable energy of your true self, finally breaking through the surface. Think about it. When have you felt that fire? Maybe it was a moment of profound injustice that made you want to scream. Maybe it was a piece of music or art that moved you to tears and made you feel truly alive. Maybe it's the quiet but persistent flame of a dream you've been too scared to admit you have. That fire is life itself. It's the engine of what Jung called individuation, the lifelong process of becoming the individual you were always meant to be, distinct from the collective herd. The journey of individuation isn't gentle or peaceful. It is a fiery, transformative process, and according to this text, it is holy. It is necessary. Next, Jesus talks about a baptism of anguish. He says, "There is a baptism with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished." We usually think of baptism as a gentle cleansing, but here, it's linked with anguish. This is a baptism not in water, but in fire. It represents a symbolic death. It is the death of the ego's attachment to the persona, the death of the people-pleasing mask you have worn for so long. Letting go of that mask is terrifying. It's the only you've ever known. To let it burn away feels like you are dying, and in a way, you are. You are letting the false self die. The anguish he speaks of is the profound anxiety and grief that comes with shedding your old identity before the new one is fully formed. It's standing in that liminal space, no longer the person you were, but not yet the person you are becoming. It's the anguish of uncertainty, of being misunderstood, of knowing that your transformation will have consequences. Jesus is modeling for us that this terrifying process is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It is the unavoidable price of becoming whole. The anguish is part of the path. And this leads us to the most difficult part, the division. Do you think that I have come to establish peace on the earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. This is where we have to be incredibly careful. This is not a call to be cruel, to intentionally hurt the people you love. It is a psychological truth. When one person in a closed system, like a family, begins a genuine process of individuation, it inevitably disrupts the system's unconscious equilibrium. Think of a family as a mobile hanging from the ceiling. Each person is one of the figures. Over years, the mobile has found its balance. It might be crooked, some figures might be tangled, but it's stable. Everyone knows their position. Now, what happens if one of those figures decides to change? What if it starts to shine, to spin, to burn with its own fire? The entire mobile starts to shake. The old, comfortable, peaceful balance is lost. Your transformation is not an act of aggression, but it will feel like one to those who are invested in you staying the same. When you stop playing the role of the peacemaker, you force the family to confront the conflicts that your peacemaking was hiding. When you set a boundary, you reveal where others were overstepping. When you speak your truth, you expose the unspoken rules and secrets that kept the false peace. The division Jesus speaks of is the natural, painful, and necessary consequence of authenticity in a system built on conformity. The Father is divided against the Son, not because of hatred, but because the Son is no longer a mirror of the Father's expectations. The mother is divided against the daughter because the daughter is forging her own path, defining her own womanhood separate from her mother's. This isn't your fault. You are simply the one who lit the match of your own truth, and that fire illuminates the cracks that were already there. It brings the family's collective shadow, all the repressed fears, resentments, and unresolved issues, out into the open. And while this is painful, it is also an opportunity for a new, more honest, and more authentic kind of love to emerge. So what do we do with this radical, terrifying permission slip? How do we begin to light our own fire without burning down our entire world? It doesn't start with a massive explosion. It starts with a single spark. It's an act of micro-bravery. It's choosing to say, "Actually, I don't agree," in a conversation where you would normally stay silent. It's blocking out 1 hour a week to work on that secret project, that passion you've told yourself is silly or impractical. It's saying no to a family obligation that you know will drain your soul, and saying it gently but firmly and without a 20-minute apology. It's the courage to disappoint someone. Let me say that again. It is the courage to disappoint someone for the sake of your own integrity. We are so terrified of disappointing others, but we disappoint ourselves every single day in 1,000 tiny ways, and we call that peace. This passage is telling us that true peace is not the absence of external conflict. True peace is the quiet alignment of your inner and outer worlds. It is the feeling of wholeness that comes when the person you are on the inside matches the person you are on the outside. And that kind of peace is worth fighting for. It's worth the fire. It's worth the anguish. It's worth the division. The ultimate goal of this fiery journey is not to end up alone, isolated by your own authenticity. The goal is to burn away the false self, the persona, so that you can finally connect with others from a place of truth. The goal is to replace the fragile, anxious peace of conformity with the resilient, joyful peace of the integrated self. Your life is not meant to be a quiet, smoldering ember, banked down to keep others warm and comfortable. Your life is meant to be a blaze. The fire Jesus is talking about is the divine spark within you, the spark of your unique potential. Your sacred duty is not to keep the peace. Your sacred duty is to find that spark, to protect it, to fan it into a flame, and to let it light up the world. And yes, it will be costly. It will feel like anguish. It may cause division. But as this ancient wisdom reminds us, it is the very purpose for which you are here. So I ask you again, what fire are you being called to light? Thank you.